connection. Going live. And 1 and 2, 3, 4. You're live. Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way, everyone. My gosh, tonight we got a great show for you. Another show. This is number 38, and I am sorry to report that David Null is ill. He is taken to the hospital, and he is not feeling good. So please, everybody, send out much favor for David Null, and our hearts go out to him. Send him good healing energy. We're all thinking about him here. I hope he comes out of there, and I will let you all know when everything works out and he gives me the heads up that he's better and home, which I am not even going to think that he's going to be better and home. He's going to be better and home. I have that positive attitude and outlook. But tonight I got my co-host, Courtney. Courtney from Stars of the Morning Light. And welcome. Thank you for coming on tonight. Last minute at that.
Yeah, when you told me about David, him having the headache last week and then this week, I'm hoping it's just the weather down here, Robert. It's been crazy. My ears are like plugged, it's just been nuts. So we are all saying, you know what? He's going to pull through.
Yeah.
It's just really crappy weather on us humans. Yeah.
Yes. And it came on kind of sudden because he said he was coming on, and then he calls me up and he says he's on his way to the hospital. So please send him good healing energy. And we'll all be thinking about him a lot until he gets home. But in the meantime, the show must go on because I know that that's what he would want. He would want us to keep on with the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what are we talking about tonight, Robert?
We know it. Well, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. So tonight I got a little bit of stuff I was sharing with you earlier, and I was talking about what's this all about? That was a good thing because you're new on the show. You listen every week, and what are you getting out of the show? What do you get? What do you get from it?
Well, not just I like the chat because I love all the Milky Way Soul Tribe, but for me personally, Robert, it's 10 o'clock here, so you are like my bedtime stories often.
Absolutely,
I'll have my tea and then I'll crawl into bed and I'll be like, okay, I'll just listen to Robert tell me some great stories. Or I will be a part of the chat depending on how awake I am. I like the native stuff. I personally do. And what I like is if you are part of the chat or even if you're listening, most of us, our minds go, how accurate can we believe this story? How much truth is it now that we're learning? Man, they change stories all the time. So that's often in the chat, that's what's kind of happening, or in our own heads it's one of those things of like, you take what you want and leave the rest, take what resonates with you. I really enjoy the native stuff, of course. And your Atlantis stuff is interesting to me. So I like it. And I always usually, I'll be talking to you and I'll say, I don't know about that, Robert. Oh, that's spot on, Robert. I don't know about that. So I'm even interacting regardless. But Robert, really what it is I believe we adore you.
Oh, thank you.
We do. Your energy is so good to be just in your presence. We're not clouding it with anything real negative. Your presence is good. You're joyful. You would be that guy that we want to hang around the campfire with. So that's what we're doing, in my opinion.
That's right. I hope we get to hang around the campfire someday. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I used to do that a lot. I was an activities director. I'd hang around the campfire, tell stories, cook popcorn, and make s'mores for the kids.
Oh,
what a job.
Yes, you can make me a s'more. Yes.
I was good at it too. A marshmallow was always perfect, and the chocolate melted into
Oh,
that graham cracker just perfect, and I knew how to do it too. But anyway,
baby.
that's besides the point. Those were days of yesteryear gone by, and now we're moving on to this. But so I'm
You know
telling you
what's
stories
wild
from
to think?
here.
Hold on,
Yes.
Robert. You know what's wild to think? If you have anyone listening from foreign countries, supposedly many of them have never tried a s'more. So when we
Well,
talk like this, we're all like, "Yes, give me a s'more," but they've
that's
never even had it.
that's
I just learned that one like a week ago.
wow. We'll have to make some
Yeah.
s'mores and show them what it's like.
Yes.
Yes, that's on my bucket list then. Anyway, uh, um, so back to the thing. Well, I'm trying to get these stories out, and I listened to what I heard the other day, and they were talking about the Native Americans and how they didn't have, books and things like that, and that they passed down these stories from generation to generation, right?
Yeah, orally. Yeah.
Did you know that the chief, or whoever was in charge of that, they would know all the stories word for word,
Mhm.
and that it was like they could be, if they didn't know it or said it incorrectly, they could be killed for that.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm like, holy cow, so that is the incentive to keep telling the story correctly. You know what I'm saying? It was their honor, their duty, their job. It
it
was
is. Yeah. It's
to
definitely their job.
pass that knowledge down, and not to just, oh yeah, well, I can't, let's make something up and fill in the blanks.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Or I had a dream and we're going to change that. Scribble that out, guys.
Yeah.
No, it was none of that. It's, I'm passing it from me to you, and you are going to go out and tell those stories exactly like I told them. And
Yeah.
I want you to repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. The Chiefs, I guess people don't really, maybe, I don't know what people think, but
Mhm.
Chiefs, they are raised with, I mean, they're working at it since they're little,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
having to memorize these stories,
And they knew the history,
having to
and they
know
knew their
so
stuff. So I
Yeah.
listened to a guy who was talking about this the other day, and he was talking about Thomas Jefferson, right? Now, Thomas Jefferson was big into history. He was a very smart,
Yeah.
intelligent man. And he went to the Indians and he asked them, hey, where did, we're finding giant bones, we're finding, mammoths, we're finding this stuff. Where did that go?
Right.
And the Indians told him what happened to
Yeah.
that, which we'll find out on another show, because I'm going to do some research into that. But they knew,
Yeah.
and there was no reason to lie. So, and they didn't make it up. So, this was probably as close as what you could get to the, finding it in a book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it is because of that. I think maybe people just think it is like sitting around a campfire and just everybody's telling a tall tale. That's
Mhm.
not oral storytelling, oral tradition of passing it down. It is usually that one designated person. And they do. I mean, there might be a slight bit of embellishment, but it's always the same story because it's keeping the culture, it's
Mhm.
keeping the history, it's keeping, like how all of a sudden it became priests writing everything down. Only monks could do that. Only monks could write the history,
Mhm.
and priests. It's the same in the native of only the chiefs could really tell the stories because they're passing it down. They know
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's right, Ed. He says, you've been watching Leak Project. That's where I heard it. I knew I heard it from somewhere. He's right. I was listening to Leak Project
Oh,
yesterday.
Rex brought it up.
Yeah, Rex brought it up. That's right. Mark the Arc Spark. Yes. He's so
Nice.
smart. He's been, yes, in that, and I listen to a lot of podcasts too. Wild West Extravaganza and stuff. Anyhow, speaking of passing it down, now I was showing you this picture earlier, and I'm going to show everybody this picture. Now, people, get it in your brain. See these two? These two Indians. And you might not think of nothing. They're just two Indians, right? These two somber Mandans were among 31 survivors of their tribe of 1,600 people that have been ravaged by the smallpox in 1837. The same disease killed about half the 4,000 neighboring Arikaras and Hadatsas. Now, if you thought COVID was bad or any of these other things were bad, this teaches you a lesson that, the smallpox came around and it killed everybody you knew. Out of 1,600 people, 31 survived, and they had to regroup. They had to tell those myths, and think how many of those Indians had myths and tales that went poof right out the, those 31 were the only people that took their history, their knowledge, their ways to the next generation.
Robert, why do you think that is? Because not the smallpox thing, but like I know when I was growing up, we would listen to grandma's stories and people would start arguing about how that's not right or this is not right. But we all knew somebody needs to be writing this down because we're going to lose the family stories.
Yeah.
Where do you think that went in, I don't know, modern culture, that we just kind of lackadaisical about family stories even? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. It went, here's the thing. And I think I'm onto something here.
Okay.
It's the separation of the culture. Now, back in the day, I've researched with the Indians. They lived in these big long houses. You probably heard of the long house, right? 30, 40 Indians living in the long house. And they're talking to each other. They're telling each other stories, sitting around the campfire together. Okay.
Right.
And people, white man came, right? You're in a little house, not big house. You have no TV, no radio, no nothing. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever. You're all living in a little house, one room, maybe two if you're lucky, right?
Right.
You got no TV, no radio, no nothing. You're a family. The most people you see are your cousins who live across the street or something, and you get together and you have family reunions and get-togethers. You go to church on Sundays, and at night you read the Bible or you tell stories of grandpa and grandma from way back when, right?
Right.
Okay. You get it to the modern era. All of a sudden, the kids are sitting around the radio listening to those stories. They're going and doing things. They're going to school. They don't need mom and dad to tell them stories, or grandma and grandpa. Well, now you get in the modern age and it's like, well, we don't, now that we got a car and we could drive anywhere, why do I need to go see grandma and grandpa or mom and dad? I got my own car. I'm going to go do my own adventures. I got Facebook. I'll just Facebook them, look what I'm doing. Hey, mom, and I don't need to visit with them. If I want information, guess what? I have Google. I just Google it.
I think you're spot on, Robert. I think you are, because I remember my last year of teaching, because I was an English teacher, and English and history are very closely related. That I would always have to talk about the history before we started a new book. And I remember the last year I taught, and I only did a few years of teaching, those kids, the moment I started talking history, it was as if they just shut down. They didn't care. And I came at them one day and I said, what is wrong with you guys? Why are you not listening? This is very important. And all of their responses were, and I think this was in like 2016, 17, was, why would we care about history? It doesn't affect us.
Yeah, but it does.
Oh, you better believe Miss Mick, she came with it the next week of, I'm going to tell you why it affects you.
Well, and that's why I bring up history. I was just trying to tell you a little earlier why I want to tell this history is because if we ever got invaded by China or Russia or any of those countries, do you think they're going to be nice to us? Do you think they're going to say, oh, no, they're going to be like the cowboys or the cavalry was with the Indians? They're going to come in there and they're going to kill the women, the children and men, and they're going to round you up and put you on some little reservation, give you a little next to no food, and then they're going to kill you off if you do anything wrong. And that's what it'll be like. Now, we should learn something from that.
We should. We should try.
So anyway, I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat room. Crystal Shaman is really tired and she might not make it. She might not make it all the whole way. Julie Stowe's in the house. Isby's in the house. He says the Soul Tribe is prospering in Bosto.
Yeah.
Max Vision is here, and I'm maybe he'll have a show tonight. And I want to tell you all who came in a little late that David Null is in the hospital, or he went to the hospital, and that's why he's not here tonight. Is still in emergency waiting. Oh, he's still in the emergency room. So yeah, give him some prayers, send him some energy. Thanks, Elderberry. Divine Empress is in the house. Mark the Arc Spark, who watches Leaf Project just like I do. Hey, Mark, check out a Wild West Extravaganza. It's on Spotify. It's also on YouTube. You'll like that. Witchy Moon 73 is in the house, and Posey is probably listening somewhere. And Lucky Smith, thank you for all you do. Much prosperity to you, my friend. And Emperor Rex. Get that tongue twisting out of my mouth. And if anybody else is listening, I think my good friend Cowboy Gus is out there somewhere in Cowboy Land, who has inspired me to tell better stories from the heart instead of reading so much.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, yeah. So the thing is, the Indians have a lot to teach us, and they were very truthful. They didn't lie. They embellished a little bit, but their word was their bond kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know? And I read a lot about the treaties that the Indians made with the United States, and the white man did he'd say, you can have all this land. And then, well, there's some gold on that land. Well, maybe you can have this much land. And then after that, well, there's some oil on that land. How about this much land?
Yeah.
And at the end, it's, well, why don't we all give you about 160 acres like all the white men have? And, oh, sorry, there's only like 500 of you.
There's only, right.
So, and tough luck.
When I moved first I came from Chicago down to Tennessee. Now I'm in the top of Georgia. There's a county there called Sequatchie County, and I used to work there. Mm-hmm. And I guess this is what's interesting. I read the treaty, and the Indian that was actually opposed to it, trying to say, don't do this, don't do this. He's in the room saying, don't do this. After everything's said and done, they recorded that he turned to the white men and said, you think you bought good land. It is not. And I guess, so I'm going to say this wrong. Sequatchie means in native, possum who grins. And I'll tell you, I used to have to travel there for work nonstop. Yeah, there's something wrong with that land. So that, when I read that, I went, oh, maybe at some point the white man actually got screwed, at some little parts. The white man would think, oh, this is perfect land. Kind of like think of, Skinwalker Ranch. This is perfect land. And the natives are like, don't do that. Mm-hmm. But, that's the only thing that I get a little solace from, I guess,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they knew the history. They've been there for 1,000 years. They know what that land is. It's not like, oh yeah, well, you haven't been there. No, we've been there. Bad things happen. Nothing grows, or people disappear there. So we don't go. Like Yosemite. Right. Yosemite's one of those places that was there, and the Indians didn't go there. Why? No. Because bad things happen.
Yeah, a whole lot of 411 stories.
Yeah, but the Indians knew that. They knew not. It's a beautiful place, but why wouldn't you go to the beautiful place? Right. Something's wrong with that place.
Yeah. And it's not just stories, it's not just culture. So many of their stories are also their religion, their metaphors for everything. They're teaching stories. So it's not just like, oh, we have to pass on our history and culture. It's also teaching. It's also their spirituality, all of their, because that's how you would do it. It's not like they, were reading books at that time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And they did a lot of stuff by prayer, sacrifices, ceremonies. And speaking of that, we got some ceremony stuff to share here.
Ooh.
And we're going to blow this up a little bit. And since we were talking about the mandans, let's see. I think I got this. Yeah. This here is the Okipa, religious ceremony that and other customs of the mandans, considering that most of them died off there in 1837 and they had to repopulate. But this guy, Catlin, I think that's Catlin. Okay, we'll blow this up a little bit. Anyway, is a ceremony and other customs of the Mandans. The Catlin visited this guy. He visited Mandan in 1832. This was before they all died off. His month-long, in-depth graphic study of the Mandans and the Okapa ceremony is particularly valuable, as only a few years after his visit in 1838, the group was decimated by the smallpox epidemic. Only 40 members of the group survived the disease, and they were either enslaved, murdered, or assimilated into other groups. Catlin was permitted to witness and document the Okapa ceremony, which took place over several days and involved dancing, singing of the whole group, and a more extreme ceremony of fasting, sleep deprivation, and pain for the young men of the tribe. This part of the ceremony was not very well understood by the observers of the time and seemed to involve a belief that life or the world needed sacrifices to continue. The sacrifice in this case was the ordeal the young men went through. Their flesh was pierced with splints, and then the splints attached to cords, which were suspended from the roof of the lodge, and they were to stay suspended as long as they could, with weights attached to their feet until they fainted, and chose to remain there until the Great Spirit gave them strength to get up and walk away. Some of the practices of this dance are similar to the sun dance, which was practiced by the Sioux and other groups in the West. Shown here is a dancer and the characters of the Okipa, the owl or evil spirit. And there we go. And I think we talked about the sun dance before.
Yeah.
And yeah, see, here's the guys, they fainted on the ground. They're being dragged away. Wow. Talk about crazy, huh? But this is the kind of stuff that, and then all this was lost because, they all died off.
Yeah, was it smallpox or malaria? What did it say?
Smallpox.
Smallpox.
Smallpox, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is pretty sad that their whole culture was lost because they just weren't they died off. I mean, think about all like everything. Anyway.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I just feel bad. I mean, I feel bad. It's like, wow, if I could only go back in a time ship and get there before they all died, what kind of information did they, did they have the cure for cancer? Did they have, stories that will never be heard again? Languages lost, who knows?
Right. Well, you are doing your part though, Robert. You're taking what we do have and you're shedding more light on it.
Mm-hmm.
How many people pick up the books?
Not many.
Not many. So you're doing your part. That was a very interesting painting. That was a painting, wasn't it?
Yes. Back in the day, I don't know if you ever heard of oh gosh, where is this? Where was I? Oh yeah. Okay. This here, we're back to the painting. Yeah, this was a painting. Did you ever hear of Maximilian?
Yeah.
Okay, Maximilian was we talked about him once before on our show, and I'd never heard of this Catlin guy, but there was like Maximilian. He was a rich duke of some European country, and he took an entourage with him to see the American West shortly after Lewis and Clark went through, right? So this was really early on, before all the Indians died off
Oh,
from
wow.
smallpox.
Robert, I
And
never knew Maximilian did that. I guess
yeah,
I stopped listening after. Wow. Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So he went with his entourage and went through all these Indian tribes, and he took along a painter, an artist guy.
Okay.
And so the artist guy, when they went to places like this, which I imagine this Caitlin guy did, he took he drew pictures. They drew pictures, of all the Indians. And that's, if you look back and you see some of these paintings like that, a lot of those now are from Maximilian and his artists. And I imagine there was a few other ones too, but I'm trying to think of which one. Let's see if I can get it here. This
But
is
what I
me driving
found
the bus.
when I'm looking at that, what jumps out at me is the red of the people, because the background is so brown. They had to make the people look so red, and it's like, that's odd. But they working with what they had, if it was Maximilian. But I have to say, for some reason, I've had this conversation with a bunch of folks in my life. Probably because stories have and traditions have been lost, Robert. But like, when general people out there, for some reason, think of rain dances, they think of just, I don't know, 10 people or so dancing around a fire. That's not what a rain dance was. Like, I guess because we don't have the population of natives anymore in comparison in our minds, we just don't know how to, put the numbers together. But like, rain dances were a lot of people, like that picture. And it's kind of like magic science, because they would be huge fire amongst hundreds of people stomping the ground, getting the ions up in the air with the smoke. And I mean, it is a ceremony, it is a dance, it is all this. And of course, you do other things. But if any of us have been to an outdoor concert and stomped the ground for a long time, what happened? It rained. Everybody that's ever been to maybe a long concert or something, it usually rains because of that. And so they already knew of all this interesting science that,
here's Maximilian.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
Yeah.
And in case nobody actually, knew it, but anyway, there you go.
Well,
Sorry,
I'm just saying like that, because you're bringing up, man, we've lost stories, we've lost this, and for some reason, it's stuff like that I don't think we have yet to wrap our heads around, like the size of the population of people, the size, magnitude, that, like you started off saying 1,600 of those people died. And only 30 remained.
Yep.
That's the stuff that I think we need. If we can understand that more and see things more with the eyes of that, of, man, if they need to do a rain dance, I'm just using this as an example, it would have been 1,600 people dancing and drumming and stomping the ground. You see what I mean? And when we, for some reason, we're like, oh yeah, 10 people, like, I don't know why we do that. It's weird.
Oh,
But it's because it's been lost. It's just been lost, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. But I do think, Robert, you are hitting right at the right time with all this stuff, buddy, because with the awakening, with all that's going on, in most native prophecies, we are at that time, and people are going to be returning to native in a lot of ways. That's why there's people, I talk to people out in India that all of a sudden are now reading and learning about our natives, out in Europe, reading and learning about our natives. They're all, and for me personally, I think it's because so many of the native souls passed that now they're here again. And to usher in this great time period, because it can be great if you want it to be. Yeah.
Well, the world goes through cycles, right?
Yeah.
And we may be, I don't want to say we are gonna, but we may be going through another one of those cycles. And, just like, the Native Americans, they had this wonderful life, of peace and harmony, kind of roam freely wherever they wanted to go, and poof, what have we had? We've had a nice free life to roam and do whatever we want, and then and it may come to an end. You never know. I mean, and then the people revolt, and you get a civil war or revolution, but that's how it always goes.
Robert,
And
prior to us starting this, you said you've never heard the story of the white wolf and the black wolf.
No, I have not. And I would be interested in hearing that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me just tell there's semi-different versions. It's all the same story. And it's the only Cherokee story that I have memorized, which I bet a lot of people in the audience know it as well. But it goes into what we were talking about. So let me take a sip of water.
All right. You just do that. Oh, and then after you got your story, since we did this, I gotta put this book away. I got this new cool book from Time Life Books. Ain't that cool?
Oh,
It's
nice.
Native Americans of the Old West.
Nice.
Yeah. I got so many good things. And then I went on my vacation and I got this Sacred Path cards.
Nice.
Ain't that nice? It came with a book and cards. And so
are you going to be the one pulling a card tonight?
You want me to pull a card tonight
out
of my new deck?
Why don't, so how about I tell the story and then you pull a card? You're going to do the David tonight then.
I'll be David tonight then.
Okay. Oh, okay. How fun, Robert. Okay.
It's fun.
We can do this. We can make it happen.
That's right. We're winging it, but look at it came with a nice little book and a deck of cards, and I'll get all this out and ready. And you do your thing, and I got some other things to get up. You can tell your story whenever.
All right. It's weird I am a storyteller, and it's weird not having so much of an audience. So I'm trying to. So this is the story, the Cherokee story of White Wolf and Black Wolf. A long time ago, a little boy and his grandfather were sitting around a fire. And the little boy turned to his grandfather and asked, "Grandfather, what will happen to the world?" And grandfather paused for a moment, staring into the fire, and he just turned to the boy and said, "I don't know." Now the boy sat as they both stared in the fire, and the grandfather realized that the boy felt defeated because the grandfather was the chief and he should be all-knowing. So as they stared in the fire, the chief started speaking again. And he said, "Since the time before all cycles began, within every cycle, there is a white wolf and a black wolf. The white wolf is all of the good of humanity, the purity, the kindness, the hope, the love. The black wolf is all of the horrible things of humanity, greed, anger, betrayal, lies." And throughout all of the cycles, the white wolf and the black wolf have been battling. And he could tell the little boy started getting nervous. And he said, "And sometimes it looks like the white wolf is winning. Sometimes it looks like the black wolf is winning. Sometimes the white wolf makes its moves. Sometimes the black wolf makes its attacks. So I don't know, son, what will happen to humanity." And they sat for a moment, and the chief realized that the son that he was talking to would be the next chief in line. And the little boy was not understanding. And so he smiled at his little grandson, who looked up at him and said, well, please tell me who will win. And the grandfather said, it's who you feed.
Oh.
So that's the story.
That
I actually do tell it better when I have an audience, but
that makes sense. I get it at the end. That's that punchline.
yeah,
Who you feed. There's
Yeah.
always good and evil, and they're always battling.
And that's
And
how
you know,
exactly it
The yin
goes.
and the yang, you know.
Yes, and that's how it goes too, Robert. The chief would be sitting with his grandson, who is going to be the next chief, telling him all these stories. But it was in a way of, okay, the little boy is defeated. The little boy needs a glimmer of hope. The little boy needs to also fully understand the story. And that's the difference, I think, between like modern storytelling and storytelling of that time. That little quick story, they would have stared into the fire for a very long time because that little child needed to wrap his head around every word that was being said. And that's the difference. And I think that's something within all cultures that needs to come back. I really do, because it's where our comprehension is, it's where our common sense is, it's where all this stuff is. So when you end it with who wins, well, it's who you feed. That little boy understood that. When today's little boy, who knows if he would have. That's the difference.
Well, and here's you were a teacher, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You know, nowadays, well, put it this way, your brain learns in all kinds of different ways. You learn when you see things differently than when you hear things. You hear things, see things, it's all input into your brain, but sometimes you retain things better if you hear them than if you see them. But sometimes you see something, then your brain retains it better because it believes it versus hearing it. You know, like I hear something outside, but then I go outside and I might not hear it, but I see a bear, but I know it's a bear. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then, so now you're learning. Now let's put this in the classroom.
I will say real quick for the Indians, the natives, that's the point of the fire. That was the point of staring into the fire. So they would, the boy was actually visualizing in the fire. Yeah. Keep going, Robert.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. So nowadays, what do? Here's a book. Take this book, read the story. I'm going to give you this paper here. Here's this paper. And it's got a bunch of stuff on it about the book, and you just answer the questions. What did you learn?
Yeah.
You know, did you understand it? Did you really learn it? Did you comprehend it? You know, are you learning it as good as if I told it to you and asked you those questions?
I will tell you, I believe in all public schools in the United States. It was by 2004, all education material that taught from any common sense or critical thinking had been removed by 2004. So any of the kids that really started school after that, and we were not, I don't really want to get into this part, but hence why I left, we were not really able to teach on that either. I mean, you try to like slip it in here, slip it in there, but it ends up becoming numbers and papers and what you have to get done. And that
it's all about memorizing. Memorize and then repeat what you've memorized. You're not actually thinking.
Right.
That story you told, that was a thinking story because you told it. And then you said, what did you learn? And you're thinking, well, what did you learn? And then you ask then as the participant, you're asking a question. Well, who's winning? And then you're thinking about it and your brain is thinking. Whereas if you're reading into the book, You read the answer just like that. Boom, you're done.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And then you get to the thing and you go, oh yeah, A, B, or C. Did he win? Did he eat? Did he do blah, blah, blah? A,
Yeah.
whoever feeds him.
Yeah. And it's
That's the
hard
answer.
because, and then every kid is different. Like you said, some have to hear it, some see it, somehow you got to get their hands going with it. Like, and it's especially I taught English. It's extremely hard to teach that subject if there is not critical thinking behind it. It's extremely hard when you're trying to teach someone how to write a paper. I think by the time I went, no, I'm done, was that, okay, so Robert, when we were young, we had to write at least a 5-paragraph paper in 5th grade to get out of 5th grade. It has gotten so bad in certain demographics, especially the ones that I worked with, let's say, because that's where my heart is in the United States, that it wasn't to get past 5th grade. It wasn't even to get past 8th grade. You had to write 5 paragraphs. It was to get out of high school. And yeah, that was
coming down of America.
Yes, that was the benchmark to graduate high school. All they had to do was write a 5-paragraph paper. And I will say, by the time they got to high school, it was as if nothing had been explained, nothing was forming sentences, nothing. It's really rough. And for me, caring about the subject, caring about the kids, to think about, wow, you're going to need to have so much more tools. You know what I mean? And I became known a little bit as combative in my job. That's the title they started calling me. Courtney's a bit combative, so I walked away instead of,
I can imagine why. I can imagine why, because you're a thinker and you want to pass that down, and you're like, this isn't the way to teach somebody. Here, just repeat after me and then write it down, and then you pass. Not you have to think, and I'm going to ask you difficult questions, and oh my gosh, you're not learning as well. You all got to learn at the same rate, because that's what we're doing. See, this is what happened with the Indians. What was the first thing they did with the Indians? They put them on reservations. They took their children and they indoctrinated them to schools to teach it. And they said, you get away from all your traditions, your language, everything. We're going to cut your hair, put you in school. And we're going to teach you the white man's ways.
Yeah.
And we're going to, and that school is indoctrinating them into that,
Anglo-Flex and all that. And that's the thing. Cause like we just said in that story, even if the chief is sitting around and everyone is listening, they are sitting around a fire. They're listening to the chief in reverence, in knowing that the story he's going to pick for tonight is a lesson we need to move forward in something or what have you, that it's, and all of it, everybody's staring into the fire. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's listening. Everybody's thinking and taking the story, and regardless of what the story is, into themselves, then out to their community. They're thinking, okay, he just gave us the lesson we need for this week or whatever. Because usually there was weekly, and I just, that kind of stuff needs to be implemented again. It really does. And I don't even care if it's your family, start with your family, and then move out, maybe add some friends with their kids in the mix around a fire or whatever, hot cocoa, I don't care, but there needs to be somebody there. And even if they're reading from something or retelling a story, have it have some kind of element of importance, some kind of educational moment, some kind of, deep insight, or this is what you think about for the next week. This is how we have to move forward. Or it went from the natives here doing that. Then when the white man really did take over, that was then the Bible being read every night. Well, I hate to say it, I was a teacher, so I do know when you start reading and you're reading the same thing over and over again, no one's listening anymore.
Mhm.
They have drowned out your voice. They are not listening anymore. They could care less. And there's not that reverence there of, oh, we have to sit there and listen to this story that we've heard a million times.
Mhm.
There needs to be the reverence. There needs to be this idea that, oh, the chief chose this for us.
Mhm.
I'm just, it's that I would give anything for families, communities, everyone to start doing that again. I would.
Well, and that's the thing. I hate to say it, but the boob tube came into the household and it ruined it for everybody, because instead of sitting around telling family stories or talking about the day or discussing problems, they turn
Right.
on that TV, click, here's a remote,
Right.
turn the channel. Oh, my favorite programs come on, and they all sit there. I did it too. I did it when I was a kid. I turned on that favorite program. Oh man, Dukes of Hazzard's on, and I'd sit there and stare at it. I couldn't walk away for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. So when I was a teenager, I was a really bad teenager. I hope nobody ever has a Courtney. And a counselor had to reach out to my mom for whatever reason. And my mom said, what do I do? And she said, okay, make it that at least one night a week, you both are at home, you both are together, you both are just chilled out. And it'll be weird at first, maybe not having a TV, or it might be weird here, it might be weird there. But eventually, and it worked out great, because eventually, okay, my mom's getting her laundry done at that time. I eventually start opening up about what's going on in my life. And all we did was make sure that we ate dinner together, talked for a little bit, and then we did turn on the TV because X-Files was on that night. You see what I'm saying? It only takes one time a week. The chief only did it one time a week. That people can come together and just make it that it definitely has to happen, because then people learn this is the time. Yeah. This is the time that I can let go. This is the time I can release. This is the time that I can learn. This is the time, whatever it may need to be. Nobody has to turn the TV off or the YouTube off, all the time. But one night, man, one night, I think it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I totally agree with that, because that's what our society's gotten to, is everybody sits around and they get their phone like this, and they go to the dinner table and they're doing this.
Have you ever been to a restaurant and you see like couples like that, and like couples and kids? Like, I have never, because I always did it, but now I really purposely do it. Because I forget I even have a phone oftentimes. I eat by myself. I can eat in a restaurant by myself and just sit completely perfectly fine. I purposely do it even more so now to try to be that example, as you don't, even if it's like, maybe because I'm doing this, you feel a little guilty, I don't care what it is, because the first time I started seeing that, it was terrifying, just terrifying. How does that even happen? And now it's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what divides people. It divides you, makes you not connect with the other people. Just think of what the kids are going to be like 50 years from now as adults. They're going to be sitting in their little one bedroom studio apartment that's 250 square feet, looking at their cell phone or computer and going, I'm fine. Oh yeah.
Probably white as ghosts because they haven't been outside.
And who knows, or maybe this is a plan. I hate to say it, but this could be a planned thing for the destruction of society. How easy is it to take over people if they're all sitting around like this?
Well,
instead
Robert,
of looking around the world.
You hit the nail on the head earlier when you said they put them all in these camps and took away their kids. That is a part of let's just say a program, or that's a part of a plan.
Mhm.
And it's been played out with the slaves. It was played out with the natives. It was played out
Mhm.
to separate families, separate. Now, instead of they can't physically, that
Mhm.
you're right. Now
Yeah.
it's electronic separation.
Yep.
And I personally, there's been a lot of talk about the takeover of AI. I don't think that AI will ever be able to replace the human connection, ever. There is nothing like if you're sick and one of your loved ones just touches your head for a minute, and says you're going to be okay. There is nothing like that feeling. There's nothing.
That is true. Now, we can't say that AI won't be able to talk like us because we don't really know the future. And I mean, think about it. Cell phone, if you would have told somebody in the 1800s that there would be a cell phone, they would have looked at you like you're nuts.
Right.
So, I mean, I do believe in 50, 100 years that your computer, you won't ever have to type. It'll talk to you just like I'm talking to you.
That I agree.
And we'll have a good conversation, and you won't be able to tell the difference between a human and the computer.
See, that's the part that I disagree, I think, because us humans, we have all these senses, and we can sense each other. Like, we radiate.
Yeah, but
if you and I gave each other a big bear hug right now, that would be vastly different, I think, than even if I hugged a robot in the future that might look like me. Or it's the human senses, the human vibration.
Okay. And I get that. But stop right there. I'm going to use my phrase. My buddy always usually says, stop right there. But just think of it. It's the slow separation. We're using this for communication. We're sitting at the table. Yeah. We're not even talking. We're losing what you're talking about. Yes. There may come a day when somebody, well, even with this last thing with the virus deal, right? Yeah. Stay 6 feet apart from me. Don't touch me. Don't come around. Hey, don't even look at my face. Kind of thing. And that's a little bit of separation. Pretty soon we're separated. Pretty soon it'll be, oh my gosh, ooh, don't touch me. That's like terrible.
Right.
Stay back. I don't need you. You can be on my screen right here on my screen. And that's as much as human interaction I need. I don't need to be touched anymore.
I say then, Robert, we go back to the Cherokee story. Who do we feed more?
Well,
the black one or the white one? Who do we feed more? And this is why you're telling all these stories. This is why you're doing what you're doing. This is why I do what I'm doing. Yes. And that's why tonight we're saying, hey, spend 2 hours with somebody else without a phone at least once this week. Whoever your loved ones are. Let's start the chain reaction of cause and effect in the other way of, man, we're so connected as the human race, as humanity. There's nothing that will tear us down. That's what I say.
That is so true. We need to be connected, and and that's the thing. We're losing that, and we don't even know it. We're doing it to ourselves. It's like that thing we had in 2020 when it was put the thing on and stay back. Who did that to us?
That's what I kept saying.
We did it to ourselves. We follow. Some guy said, do this. And the little tape on the floor said 6 feet, stand here. And we did that. And everybody followed orders. But whose orders were they?
Robert, I actually shared a quick metaphor on my channel like a couple of weeks ago that it popped in my head. And this is how I see. So since I was young, who knows, when I have to go grocery shopping or really actually walk into any damn store, I'll take my cart and I will mostly likely push it to the area that I need to be, park it somewhere, and then run up and down, just grabbing stuff, throwing it in my hands, and then go back to the cart and drop it in the cart. This is what I do. This is how Courtney grocery shops. And I'll do it in this area, and then I'll bring the cart over here, and then I move it. They watch me. They have no clue what I'm doing. They think I'm going to steal, even though I paid every time. because I'm doing something so vastly different than pushing the flipping cart. I'm actually using my brain, because why would I push a heavy cart until I have to get to my destination when I'm done? Why would I? I've never shopped that way. They watch me every time, to the point that like the guys will like walk by and I'll stop and then they'll just turn and I'm not following you, you know, security guards. It happens every time. And I just laugh like, guys. And it's because of that. We end up doing, because, you know, humans were such social beings that it's not the one guy who says it. The one guy can say it. It's if others start implementing it, then more start attaching themselves, because we're social beings. We are, and we're so afraid of being rejected, or we're so afraid of not being a part of. That's how that happens. And so I say, everybody, maybe push your cart differently, or don't push it at all, or do whatever the hell you want, because that's really what it is. They've already proven it in all sorts of psychology that it has nothing to do with the laws or the rules. It has to do with how many start applying them first, and then it just magnetizes and it just builds and builds. So we can just change it up again if we want. You know, I never once put a thing on my face. I never did it. I did not know too, because they also thought I was crazy. I never knew for like the first year that there were like people were being told to walk in the stores, like in a single file line. And there were like arrows on the floor. I had no idea. So Courtney's just pushing her car, parking it, running all around, just grabbing all. Yeah, I looked like a rebel, a crazy person, and I had no, you know, nothing on the face. And they watched the hell out of me. But you know what? Let them watch the hell out of you, because you end up doing the right thing in the end. You know.
I know. When I went to Walmart, I walked up and the guy says, you know, put on your mask, and I says, no, thank you. And I walked in the door.
Yeah.
and people were like, oh my gosh, he just walked in. And you know what? Nobody stopped me. Nobody came up and said, sir, you need to do that, or you can't be in here. No, they just, oh well. The only place I got kicked out of was Menards, and I was so mad. I says, I filled my whole cart up. They're like, you gotta have a mask to check out. I says, I did all the shopping, and you didn't stop me then. I says, I got money, I'm gonna pay. Nope, we can't wait on you. The girl at the thing says, I can't wait on you, or I'll get fired because you don't have a mask on. And she said, the guy says, well, you can buy a mask here for 50 cents. And I said, you know what? You can take that 50 cents and you can put all these groceries and all this stuff, which is over a couple $100 worth of stuff, and you can put it back, and I'm never coming back in here again.
Nice.
And I walked out.
Robert. Good for you. Yeah. See, and the more people see us doing that, so that's why I'll go and, well, I occasionally now go and eat by myself. I'm not touching a phone. I might not even have a book to read. I just can sit with myself quietly and enjoy eating. Because the more of us demonstrate, and somebody else then tags on, then we're changing the narrative, not the other way around. I think so, definitely. Which we're talking about storytelling. We are living stories. So we can change the narratives whenever.
That's right. That is absolutely right. Do what you want and be your own person. Yes. Don't follow the narrative. You don't have to follow the rules unless you're gonna, unless it hurts somebody else. So if you're not hurting nobody, make your own. Go your own path. So anyway, back to our day is getting long. It's already 10 o'clock, and I wanted to keep this short because I got to get up early and I'm on call too. So anyway, I got a little something I want to play. And share. Optimize for video clip. We'll do this. I hope this works out. Can you guys see this?
I believe so, Robert. I'm seeing it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I want to make this bigger. There we go. Okay, look at that. I'm sitting by the campfire here, and I'm just relaxing
You
in the
hear it?
woods in the Bob Marshall Wilderness.
Oh,
That's my
wow.
vacation.
Oh,
Yep, out by a lake, got a little stream running across down in the background. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm sure I'm going to get some good shots of that later on that hopefully I'll put on this same video. But for the meantime, I'm relaxing and reading another Native American book that I picked up and enjoying the sun and fun, going to see things at Glacier. Went to the House of Mystery at the Vortex, and you can find that. Check out David Politis, 411 Missing, who suggested that. So big thanks to him. I hope you're all doing good and having a great weekend yourself. Take some time, go out. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. Love you all, everyone.
And there we go. Yeah, that was
oh, Robert,
y'all.
that was great. Where were you?
That was in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. I went to Glacier, you know,
Nice.
to the Hungry Horse and Columbia
Oh.
Falls and all that good stuff.
I think that was the first time I saw you without a hat.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I still have some hair. And there you go. See, I got it.
There you go, Robert.
My young and youthfulness. Anyway, okay. Now I'm gonna be David Null and pull a card tonight. And we got all these people in here, and I wanted to see, there was something here. Mark had said, he said 5G is a weapon, and the kids are in trouble. Of course they are. And Jules says people need to touch and human contact. Mark says, my whole family is the Borg. And Mark went to Home Depot and they wanted to do that to me. Yeah, I know.
Oh my goodness.
And Lucky Smith says education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. Socrates. That's from Socrates.
Oh,
good one.
I love Socrates. I'm not like, I like Plato's fine, but Socrates is where it's at. And then Nietzsche. And then
I'm gonna have to read more Socrates, that's for sure. I'll be looking that up tomorrow. Anyway, let's see what else I want to say. Oh, yeah. Delaney Pearl Jones is in the house, and we're having a show with her this coming Saturday. Delaney will be in the house with all the spooks and spirits that are in her basement coming with.
Oh,
you know,
fun.
she always has something good to tell us and show us, and we're probably going to watch a few videos, and I know she sent me a bunch of them, and we'll get them out. Delaney, send me some more, or tell me which ones exactly you want. So, okay, here's my cards, and I'm going to pull this one right here, and this is the pipe. Hope you get a good look at that. Ain't that cool?
Yeah, those are beautiful cards.
Oh, they are. They're really nice. Pipe, prayer and inner peace. Now I gotta find that in this book. There should be a dictionary. The pipe. Wish they were in order. Pipe and
inner peace. That's
there's
so
a page
lovely.
number on there. Number 1. Oh, the pipe is number 1. Go figure. What I'm looking at, like, where would this be? Number 1. How do you? Okay, number 1. And there's a whole directions on how to use these to make things and whatever. But anyway, we're just going to pull a card and call it good. And number 1. Where is it? Number 10. Oh, that's.
And I want to tell people that Lucky Smith and I are going to probably start doing a Lucky and Courtney hour once a week.
Awesome.
That should be fun.
Yeah, Lucky, I appreciate when you come on my show too, because Lucky he's full of knowledge. I tell you, he is just, and he's when he first come on, he's great, but tell you what, and if he ends up being alone, then he kind of like stop. And it's like, oh, but now that he's doing his own show and
Yeah.
he knows how to be alone and keep talking, he's doing great.
Yeah,
And I
I
love
know.
it. I
He's
love
kicking
it.
butt. I know. We are all so happy, and his personality is starting to show more.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
it's him on the phone is vastly different than what you had saw before on film, and now it's starting to all come together, and it's very nice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, it is. Oh man, this is quick. Okay, and we're gonna go through this. The pipe, the teaching. From the moment the great white buffalo calf woman appeared to the Sioux Nation, the pipe has been a sacred medicine shared by the brothers and sisters of Native America. It is a way to pray, speak truth, and heal wounded or broken relationships. We were given the pipe to send our prayers and gratitude to the great mystery, and to signify peace among all nations, tribes, and clans. The bowl of the pipe represents the female aspect of all living things, and the stem is the symbol of the male aspect in all life forms. When the stem is placed in the bowl, this act signifies union, creation, and fertility. When the pipe is loaded, each pinch of tobacco is blessed at each branch of our relations. It is asked to enter the pipe in their spirit forms to be honored and smoked. We honor Mother Earth, Father Sky, Grandfather Sun, and Grandmother Moon, the four directions, the standing people, the stone people, and the winged ones, the finned ones, and the four-legged animals, the creepy crawlers, insects, the great star nation, and the sky brothers and sisters, subterraneans, the thunder beings, the four chief spirits, air, earth, water, and fire, and all other two-legged in the human family. In smoking the, and we did a show on that too, about
cool.
the pipe. And Nina Fetty, she says they have that pipe. That is a real thing. They have that pipe.
Yeah.
And she told me who has it and stuff. But anyway, that's a really cool thing.
Peace pipe out in the mountains of Oregon before.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was a teenager. My family, my dad's side is all into native stuff, and we were hiking, and I guess that's just what you do when you hike. I didn't know that was going to happen, and then all of a sudden it was happening, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
You know, the funny part is we always think, well, what are they smoking? You know, wacky tobacco or tobacco, or, you know, and they had their own, you know, weeds and grasses they smoked because they just didn't, you know, have tobacco. I mean, tobacco is grown mostly on the East Coast, and then, you know, other things were grown in different spots. So they just smoked herbs and grasses, you know, so it wasn't the same thing.
It's not the same.
Not what we're thinking of, like tobacco, you know what I mean? So in smoking the pipe, it is the utmost importance to smoke every pinch of tobacco that was loaded into the bowl. Each flake of tobacco has taken spirit into its body, and it's honored as having the essence of all our relations in its form. If the fire, which is part of the eternal flame of life, does not touch and ignite the tobacco, the spirit that is inside cannot be released in smoke. If the smoke is not taken into the body, the spirits of our relations and our ancestors cannot come into communication with us. To empty our bowl that has not been fully smoked is to commit a grave error and dishonors those spirits who gave or who have come to smoke with us. The reckless use of the sacred pipe can stifle the willingness of spirits to assist us in our quest for wholeness. You know, what is up with the smoke? You know, like in different religions, it's always the smoke. They're swinging the smoke thing, and they're making smoke, and the spirits are in the smoke. Do you ever notice all religions have that? You're supposed to take the smoke and you know, like if you're burning what you call it,
incense,
and you're like waving the smoke around the house, you know what I mean? What's up with the smoke? What's up with the smoke? You know, is that what embodies a spirit?
There's actually multiple different reasons for the smoke, depending on what you're burning. different sage or like rosemary or different herbs, it's not just cleansing the space as far as spiritually, it also keeps away pests. Like a lot of herbs, when you burn them and you smoke out, think about when we smoke out for mosquitoes and it's like a chemical smoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's this, they're doing it for that, to keep out pests, because we got to think of when this started. And also depending on the ceremony, as far as either cleansing the space or with like smoking the pipe, that goes into taking in the ancestors, removing them, like they are not removing them, but and the smoke also, the biggest thing I can say for people to pull away from concepts of smoke is that smoke is actually, how do I say this? It's a carrier. Like, let's say, no matter what tradition or culture or ancient stuff, smoke was the carrier of intentions, the carrier of this, the carrier of that, to the great Sky Father. So that's a lot of, so not just native, that's a lot of why smoke is. I can actually talk about smoke a lot. Also, if we're smoking wacky tobacco, there's a different chemical reaction when you smoke it opposed to eating it or breaking it down in another way. And the same goes for other herbs, other healing plants and whatnot you might be lighting on fire. There's a different chemical reaction when fire is attached to it. And depending on what you are trying to accomplish, you need that component there. For me personally, the biggest part is you can put your intentions, you can put your thoughts, you can put your whatever it is, your wishes, your dreams, your hopes into smoke, and it carries it to Sky Father. It carries it on to further above for you. That's my biggest pull away right now for everybody. I could talk about smoke a lot.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a, let me go on with this.
You have such a deep voice. No, I'm joking.
Don't worry. Okay, the aspect of teaching of the pipe that has to do with peace is multi-leveled. In the modern world, we often look at peace as the absence of war, but peace represents more in the native way of thinking. Peace is a way of acting, knowing, creating, listening, speaking, or living. In all instances, peace comes from within our own beings. This peace is the balance of recognizing and honoring male and female teaching and learning, humility, pride, and other aspects of living in harmony. It is not something that we can be weighed and accepted by ourselves. If there were to be a measure, it would be measured by the capacity of the heart to remain open and sincere, unafraid. My grandfather took me to the fish pond on a farm when I was about 7 and told me to throw a stone into the water. He told me to watch the circles created by the stone. Then he asked me to think of myself as that stone person. You may create lots of splashes in your life, but the waves that come from those splashes will disturb the peace of all your fellow creatures, he said. Remember that you are responsible for what you put in your circle, and that your circle will also touch many other circles. You will need to live in a way that allows the good that comes from your circle to send the peace of goodness to others. The splash that comes from the anger or jealousy will send those ugly feelings to other circles. You are responsible for both. That was the first time I realized that each person creates the inner peace or discord that flows out into the world. We cannot create world peace if we are riddled with inner conflict, hatred, doubt, and anger. We radiate the feelings and thoughts that we hold inside, whether we speak them or not, whether in splashing around inside of us, spilling out into the world, creating beauty or discord with all other circles in life. So sacred is the person's word and honor that it is to be upheld, even if the cost paid dearly is the person's life. Anytime the pipe is shared, The words spoken and agreements made are based upon the Indian idea of honor, truth, and mutual understanding stemming from each person's inner peace. There you go.
That's lovely.
Yeah, which is true. I mean, we all affect. That's why I always say, at the end of the show, I usually say, go out. You see your neighbor, wave to him.
Yeah.
Give him a big, if not, give him a big smile if you don't have any arms. And say hi to somebody. Do something nice. You don't have to spend money or anything like that, but just like putting it out there.
Right.
Hey, how you doing? A smile will go a long way. You smile, it's like, hey, they see, you just
Yes.
get that reaction. But if you don't, if you go, what kind of reaction do you get? You see me go, well, yeah, you're gonna be like, I don't want that.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna talk to that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what you put out there will affect everybody else. And if you put out the negative vibes, it's like the smoking a thing. You smoke the pipe, and like you said, it
sends it out there. It's the carrier.
It's that visual. It's the visual vibes that you're seeing as the smoke. I guess that's when you're smoking the pipe and you're blowing the smoke and doing all that. That's the visual part. And the other part, you can't see it because, if I wave or I smile or I say something nice or I just, you can't see those waves.
Right.
But they affect people just the same.
Right. That's what we do. And like you said, we got to be responsible. We're responsible for our actions. And we're also, it took me a lot of years to realize that my actions did affect others, and they do. Good, bad, and indifferent. So smile. Why not? Why not?
Yep. So Elderberry says Hawkeye is still texting, must feeling a little bit better. Yeah, I hope he is too. Delaney Pearl Jones says she's going to be pulling some cards on Saturday night. So looking forward to that. Delaney, I bet you don't have one of these cards. But anyway, this is one of the little treats that I got myself when I went to Glacier, and I went to the House of Mystery, and it was called the Vortex, the House of Mystery, where they got one of these houses. It's all slanty. You go in there and everything leans to the side and gravity is wrong, and it's really kind of cool.
When did you do that, Robert?
2 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago.
So did you enjoy yourself? Did you get a vacation? Like, did Robert get
It was a good vacation. Yeah. Went horse riding, went to Glacier, went camping, went to the Lewis and Clark National Park.
Cool.
Way out, always out in the middle of nowhere. Went to this little town of, I don't know if you've seen my short, Harleton. Went to the museum there, and
with the older man who was talking. Yes, I saw that one. Where were you when you did a video?
That was the museum. That was that was the museum.
Was that was on your vacation too?
Yeah, that was on my vacation. That was where does that guy go? Oh wait, hang on. Oh yeah, that was pause there, guy.
Yeah, that was like
I got a couple of clips.
That was good.
Oh, this one here you guys didn't see. This was I gotta stop that. This was speaking of that, share, or this is real quick. This was the Lewis and Clark memorial put up in early 1900s. I forget when exactly, but this was Camp Disappointment.
Camp Disappointment.
Yeah. And it's just a little spot on the way to Glacier. There is, I forget what, Highway 2. And here we go.
What a weird name for a camp. Camp Disappointment.
Yeah, Camp Disappointment. Well, it's where Lewis and Clark split up for a little while. and Lewis
Oh,
went down the
okay.
way, and he was looking for some other passageway to go somewhere, and he got out in the middle of nowhere there, and there was just rolling hills and nothingness.
And nothing.
And he went thinking that this river was going to take him to the other river, and it didn't. And
Wow.
so he called it Camp
I
Disappointment.
didn't know that at all. That's,
Yeah.
see, you learn something new every day.
Oh yeah. Always learning something new. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Well, let's see. I guess that's about it. Anything else you got for tonight? And
No,
we're gonna
I'm good.
wrap her up.
I'm
We gotta
good.
pull her
Send
nice.
David love and
Yes.
smile at everyone you see, and yeah.
Yep.
I think you hit everything. I think we hit everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on at last minute. You're welcome anytime. Like I said, this was great. Oh, look at that, Suzanne Sashi. She's someone finally. I haven't seen her in a while. She's sitting and now and listening. Finally caught alive. Yes, she has. She is right on there. And Pa Joe is in the house.
Nice.
He says 11 thumbs up and 11 watching. Cool. We got 12
Cool.
watching.
Good.
So we got a good. Usually we have quite a crowd in here, but anyway, it is summer. People don't seem to watch in the summer because they're out doing things. Because you know what? I'm out doing. Yeah. Go out. Exactly. Go out, live your life, do something besides sit around watching the boob tube, and spend some time with people like we talked about. You know, go tell some stories about the old days, especially if you are older. You know,
yes, please share. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can share a bunch of stuff. Man, I could tell you about some of the crazy things I did when I was young. I don't do them. Learn from my mistakes.
Right.
Although I survived to make it this long. So there you go. Okay, everyone. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace. Have a great week. See you on Saturday.
Bye, guys.
There